What's up, y'all? This is Mike Manzer with another Manzer Faust Productions video, and yeah, still here, baby. How you doing? It's been a little while. I feel like the last video I did was towards the beginning of the month. Been through a lot this month. I'm not gonna go into too much detail about all the crazy, personal shit. Um, just needed a break. I needed a break. I needed to get my head back on straight. It's been very difficult getting physical media. And the way I am, the way I do this channel is I need to have something physically in my hands to show y'all. It just makes it easier for me to talk about it. Uh, but I have been keeping busy. I have been keeping busy, been getting into a little bit of taking photography, just walking around. I'm constantly active. I don't know if I've talked a lot about this on the channel, but I walk about like 15 miles on the average day. And in those walks, there's a lot around where I am, this general New Haven area, going out to Milford, going out to even Bridgeport, places like this. While I'm walking, there's so much cool, like abandoned architecture and great, like little, like beaches and all this other kind of stuff around town, around New Haven, West Haven, this general area. There's so much cool to take in. I've really gotten into taking pictures and been posting a lot on the Instagram of that kind of stuff. So if you follow me on Instagram already, you've been seeing me just as much as usual, but I haven't been on YouTube as much. Um, October, I've been doing my watching of a lot of horror movies. I am a subscriber to the Criterion channel, and look, to my joy, they dropped quite a few really good playlists. One of them being the techno thrillers, and real good. The first day, I remember just going completely through this pre-code era horror playlist. Like, there's a lot of great stuff on Criterion. I'm not really big on streaming. Really, I've always said streaming's more of like that means to an end kind of thing. Uh, if I'm watching something on streaming, I enjoy it at all, I will probably get it physically. I like to go out and support physical media. I like having it in my hands, and it makes it easier for me to talk to y'all about it. But because that was difficult this month, had to go to streaming, and I did get in a lot of great flicks. At some point towards the end of the year, I'm gonna make a post or maybe even a video talking about some of my favorite first time watches of the year. Um, Hopefully, some of these I end up getting on a physical um, media down the line. But it's just like I really focused on a lot of that, and like I said, there was a lot of personal, kind of financial related stuff that I was going through. Made it difficult for me to get physical media. Last week or two, I have made my way back into getting out and uh, getting some records. Got the Vinegar Syndrome releases from October that I still want to talk about. Probably going to do a video about those later on this week. Got quite a bit of ideas for videos I want to do throughout the this week and next week relating to a style of music, a genre that I haven't really dove into too deeply. Provided I am not a direct member of the community surrounding this music, and you'll probably guess fairly easily what I'm hinting at as the style of music. But it is a very important musical genre for me, and I realize that we're coming up on two pretty big uh, anniversaries of some events. One being one of my favorite albums in this and one of the most important albums in my life and in music in general, celebrating an anniversary. And also, we have a tragedy of one of my favorite artists, musicians, unfortunately leaving this plane a few years ago. So I have some videos in the works for that, and then that'll kind of open up another lane that I want to dive into with that particular genre, but you'll see that when it comes. I've been going out to shows. I just wanted to spotlight a couple of them. Went to a really good grindcore show at Cherry Street. I don't remember the date of it, but we had some really great bands: Scalp the Pioneer, Narc from Salt Lake City. We had a great band I've been waiting to see for a while from Berkeley called Choke, and everybody was like killing it. There's a couple of other bands on it I cannot remember the name of. I apologize for that. But yeah, just fantastic all the way around, and I really do like that band Choke. I remember I've been aware of them for a while through they used to help book shows with I believe they're from Oakland. Actually, I might have got the Berkeley part wrong, but the reason Berkeley came to mind is they book Haggis on a ton of shows. So because I'm in touch with some of the guys in Haggis, I hear a lot from Greg, who's in I believe his name is Greg. Again, apologies if I got that wrong, but he's in Choke, and I've talked to him online a few times. Great drummer, and that band is wicked fucking good, man. I am really into their stuff. Great live performance, just very powerful, the things that they're saying within their music, and between song banter and their kind of direct message, like very important stuff right now, against bigotry and all that kind of bullshit that we see going on these days. That's some really important stuff to me. I was just happy to see them. And Scalp the Pioneer, was not familiar with them. I know I've seen that name before, and I do recognize a couple of the members from other things. I just can't place what those other things are, but they are wicked good. I believe they're from Boston. Some wicked solid fucking grindcore. So really into it. Narc was really good as well, from Salt Lake City. Wasn't as familiar with them. That's kind of one that kind of passed me by, but I am really, really sold on them. They're really solid, great live performance. Like, everybody killed it. I wish I could remember the other two bands that played that. I apologize. But yeah, and then this past Saturday, I did kind of this tradition of mine and went to go see the Igfits at Cherry Street Station up in Wallingford, Connecticut. And I've referenced Cherry Street a few times. I made a video talking about a show with Sheer Terror, Slapshot, and Sub-Zero that happened back in, I believe, May. Solid venue. Always like supporting them. Get really good shows there. They got Carnivore AD coming back. Always a good time. And Igfits have been doing it about 15 years, they said. I've missed a few of them. I think I missed the last couple of years. I think it's been a while since I've been out to the big Halloween extravaganza that we have at Cherry Street. But man, it was a blast. Like, opening, we had like a really cool thing of like, there was this band from the 90s from Connecticut called Dismay. And I have their 7-inch, so I was familiar with a lot of these songs. Just solid, old school, very New York. Kind of reminds me of the more metallic kind of stuff, but you have a little bit more of like a kind of like a Burn, that kind of more, like, people would call it like proggy, but it's a little bit more like heady, kind of hardcore kind of stuff. And they were fucking phenomenal. I guess it's like a couple of members, some of them have passed away, but it just had this great old school feel, like I was just going ape shit, like Saturday, man, I felt so good getting out and just letting everything out of my system and seeing all these bands. There was a Ramones cover band. I believe it was, I can't remember. They always play. I cannot remember their name, but they were pretty solid. I didn't really catch their set too much. I was pretty wiped out from Dismay. Um, we had Full Blown 80s, which is kind of a fun, like hardcore punk kind of band, but they do all like 80s songs. Kids in America by Kim Wilde. I think they did Blister in the Sun by the Violent Femmes. Like, We're Not Gonna Take It by Twisted Sister. You know, like a lot of these like kind of 80s anthems, but it was a lot of fun. I Ran by Flock of Seagulls. It was just a good time, you know, just jumping around, getting sweaty. Yeah, just real fun. And then Ig Fits, the headliner, and that's kind of like the main attraction. Like I love the Misfits. Like those are all like classic songs, especially like in particular Danzig era. And there was some jokes thrown around about like the Graves era and stuff. Ig is, if for those of you not aware, is like a band from a bunch of years ago. It's got members of Hatebreed and 100 Demons, uh, some other local kind of hardcore bands. Um, Big name hardcore guys. Pete on vocals just kills it, man. He's such like a great um, stage presence about him. I remember seeing his old Oi band, Forced Reality, a bunch of years ago. They used to play all the time. Back when Waterbury, the Brass City Boss Sounds thing was happening a lot. We had a great festival back in the day. I'd love to make a video talking about this called 2,000 Tons of TNT, which is a very like skinhead oriented. We had great ska bands, some classic skinhead reggae on there from the legendary Cimarip. He got up on stage and did a whole set with Inspector 7, and it was just mind-blowing. And there was some other great performances back then. Negative Approach, Poison Idea. I believe the first year, though, Forced Reality played. And I also saw them open for Cox Bar a couple of years later up in Revere, Massachusetts. And just seeing him like command an audience and get people riled up and stuff, and definitely like 100 Demons was like one of the first big kind of local hardcore bands that I got into when I got down to Connecticut. Like I knew of Hatebreed and stuff, but I've never really been a big fan of seeing them live. Only seen them like twice, I believe. One of them was under like a kind of pseudonym. They're playing a small venue. They didn't want everybody to know it's Hatebreed. But just like 100 Demons, man, it's just like anthemic, great, like very melodic metalcore, late 90s kind of stuff. They're definitely like towards the top of the heap of that kind of stuff. Very influential as well. You can hear a lot of their influence on a lot of stuff that came later, of that more like chuggy, metallic, not a lot of beatdown. Like people will put them in the same like kind of category as that kind of stuff, but I don't. I see it more as that melodic hardcore kind of side of things, but very metallic at the same time. And Ig Fits. So Ig was another band a bunch of years ago. They actually had a reunion where they played the final show at Whamleg back in May. Did a set, and they even threw in some Misfits songs there. And Ig is just like a straight ahead, like thrashy, aggressive hardcore band. Just a local band. Saw them once, I believe. I can't remember though. It's going way back. This is around like 2007 or 2008. I remember seeing them on like, they were really hyping them up on like, of all things, MySpace back in the day. So that's how far back this is fucking going. But Ig Fits is always like a big event. I remember seeing them at the LNG with Integrity and Ringworm, and just that's one of those shows that definitely stands out in my head. But since the LNG has been gone since like 2013, they moved it up to Cherry Street. They might have had it at Wham Leg a few times. Maybe they had it up in Meriden a few times. I always get confused. I think they might have had it even in Rock and Roll House maybe, but they always put on a great set. They do so many songs. Like I left like probably 25 songs in. They probably went for another like 10 minutes. Like they were just like cranking them out. And like, so, you know, you got some weird ones in there. I remember they did In the Doorway. It's like, they didn't even know the words, so they had some other guy jump up on stage. And that was really cool. But you know, you got the classics. You got Skulls. You got you know, I Turned Into a Martian. 20 Eyes. You know, like it goes. You can go on and on. There's so many great like Danzig era Misfit songs to choose from, and they even go deep. Like I said, you know, American Nightmare, Who Killed Marilyn, Spinal Remains. Just you know, it's endless and such a great set. Energy very high, as with the rest of the night. Like, I'm still surprised I haven't started coughing up a lung. It was crowded in there, man. It was packed. It was hot. But, man, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm having a good fucking time. And it was hot all day on Saturday, man. It's like fucking August had a revenge, man. It came back with a fucking vengeance. Came back for blood, man. It was hot, man. This past weekend was fucking too much, man. This humidity, I'm all for it getting cold again because I just want to not melt every single fucking time I go outside. That'd be great, you know. It's too much to ask for. Whatever. Let's cool off a bit, you know. So yeah, just wanted to make a quick video talking about this. And I am back. I do have a lot planned for the next week. Got a little bit of a Stop, Watch, and Listen coming up. I believe it's episode 9 or 10. And, like, I've been cranking those out, so yay me. Gonna talk about some recent records that I picked up from this year and some throwbacks that I got at Static Era the other day. Gonna do a video on another partner label. That one's coming a little later than usual, but still wanted to get one of those in. Got the 2 videos I mentioned before on a new kind of genre topic. Got another possible label spotlight in the works. I want to start getting back into those. And yeah, a couple of other things that I'm throwing around the old noggin. So yeah, I'm back. If anybody... oh, and I also wanted to say that I am amazed at this. So I did a video a couple of, like a month ago, 2 months ago. I think it's 2 months at this point, after the legendary Sick Heavy from Gizm passed away. Which was huge news for me, like very devastating. Obviously, I never got the chance to see Gizm. Like, one, I'm way too young to be around, and they never toured the States. It was a very enigmatic kind of band for us over here. And, like, I've always been really passionate about them, and they have gotten more attention. I thought about in the video how, like, Relapse has really been cranking out a lot of their music, but back in the day, man, you really had to like look for these physical copies. You had to get like a fan club edition, or if you had $300, get one from Japan, you know, like one of the originals. But these were not easy to come by records. Very divisive to its people as well. You know, I feel like today's audiences are much more susceptible to that kind of thing with the noise kind of stuff you got going on, the more intense, like lo-fi kind of, you know, forms of hip-hop and metal and punk that we have going on now that are getting very big attention. Like, you got a lot of big bands that I don't think will openly say that they're inspired by Gizm, but you can definitely hear that they are inspired by bands that were at least inspired by Gizm, you know, in that same kind of aura. You know, you get a lot of good, like, chaotic, like, unhinged kind of vibes, you know. And that video was definitely passionate for me because, like, you know, they have gotten popular. They do have this resurgence over here. Like I said, due to the relapse, reissues of their records. But man, like, I still don't hear a lot of people talk about them. Shout out to Kings of Punk podcast. I'm gonna put their link down in the description for their site. If you have not checked out Kings of Punk, it's probably like one of my favorite podcasts going right now. They do a really good job. Great guys and like bands outside of that. Leaking Head and Hallucination Realized, who I saw up in Long Island back in August. Fantastic bands, and just hearing these guys talk about these different forms of punk. They did an episode on Poison Idea that was fantastic. They did a really good episode on Anal Cunt, which is kind of strange, but whatever. They just finished up a great series on Oi, one of the episodes in which they interview the legendary Gary Bushell. If you get the chance to listen to any of them, dive into those. There's also a great series they did ranking, doing kind of a one of those March Madness kind of brackets of the Pusshead choices for his top 100 hardcore albums of the 80s or whatever it was. Those are really good, and they did a great episode on Gizm way back. I believe that's the first episode where I became aware of them. And if you get the chance to listen to any of them, like I said, listen to those Oi episodes, but definitely those Gizm episodes are some top tier podcasts, like just awesome. So yeah, definitely check out Kings of Punk. And it was great to hear somebody finally talk about Gizm, because for the longest time you couldn't really search them up. You couldn't really it was just very mysterious, and there was this kind of like eerie kind of aura around them. But it's very important music, and for me it just completely changed things, because they're not like the traditional way you would think of even Japanese hardcore. The way that they go about these subject matters, nuclear war and like slaughter and warfare and all those kind of things. The typical stuff you'd get out of like a lot of British and Japanese bands of that time. Also Sweden, Finland, Germany, so on, Belgium. You also got this kind of like nihilism and this kind of a little bit of like tongue-in-cheek humor about it, very dark, just aggressively violent, and just playing into this like kind of mercenary vibe of the music and the image, and the just Sakevi just was a maniac. Like all the stories, like the legends, the myths that you would hear about this guy from just going way back. It was spooky, but that does like really lend to like how great that music was. And getting to my point, since I already made a video about this, that video has been far and beyond my most successful, most viewed video, and I am thrilled. I love that people are in particular zooming in on that video, because like I said, this is a band that not a lot of people have done a deep dive on. Not a lot of people have like talked about this band in great detail, and the influence that they had on like my own taste, and even like the tastes of a lot of bands that I greatly respect. I mentioned Poison Idea, and they have been a band that has openly talked about the profound impact on their music that Gizm had. They even covered ABC Weapons, or Death, Agony, and Screams, one of those two songs off of Detestation. And it was cool to talk about one of my favorite albums by them being Military Affairs Neurotic, which just got that reissue this year. Just such an underrated, underheard, like great, like kind of crossover, very intense hardcore. You even hear a little bit of like a gallop in it that you would hear later on in like stuff like Dark Throne and Moonblood, and these like great lo-fi black metal kind of primitivist bands. You hear some even early like kind of death metal influence, the over the top like kind of Iron Maiden riffing. You could even hear in some of like the more intense like kind of power metal stuff. Um, Even like some of the later doom metal stuff, you can hear a lot of it. And like just talking about that record, and just praising it for just like the piece of art that it is, and the interesting little like soundscapes that they put on the record, these kind of interludes, these long kind of drone tracks that really do add to this like military war atmosphere of the record. It just was a great honor to talk about it. And yeah, and it got, I think it's up to around 1,600 views, which is insane. You know, the closest video I got to that is like 250. And that is really cool. And I really love the reactions that I've gotten from people. I've gotten some comments and messages from people saying, like, I love you talking about these great, like, Japanese hardcore bands. Not a lot of people talking about them, making recommendations for films that Sakevi has shown up in. I love, like, one person messaged me, you seen this movie, Burst City, with the Stalin? And Sakevi shows up. I'm like, hell yeah, man. Burst City is the shit. Hunt that one down. Arrow put it out a few years ago. It's a fun fucking movie. And the Stalin, amazing Japanese band. They kind of predate hardcore kind of taking over Japan, but definitely like you hear a lot of that in kind of Gaze, Lip Cream, um, Execute, all those great bands coming out a little bit later. You definitely hear the influence that the Stalin had on them. So yeah, seek out that video, and you know, as usual, seek out all those great Sakevi footage. You know, it's just he's such an interesting kind of figure in all of this. And you know, if that video will influence other people to talk about their experiences and maybe do even more deep dives into it, um, I'd love to see a ton of people talking about how important Gizm is. Maybe even open the door to somebody talking about Randy Uchida Group, or the solo SKV kind of noise stuff, or even Sakevi's art. I do plan on doing a series on like different artists who did covers and artwork and all that kind of stuff, and definitely believe there's a video about Sakevi coming out within that. So I just wanted to thank you all for watching that video and sending it out to people and recommending it. Whatever you're doing is much appreciated, because it is getting more eyes on one of the best bands of all time, one of the most important punk bands, hardcore bands, metal bands, anything. One of the most important bands in my life and so many other people's lives that just never got the due respect. So yeah, that is really cool. Gotten a lot of like great uh, new subscribers from that as well, and I really do love how y'all have stuck to the channel. New people have been finding it. I still get views, um, and thank you for the respect that you have shown me. I haven't gotten many messages. I haven't really been on social media and that kind of stuff promoting videos lately. But I thank you for being respectful during this time while I work through what I need to work through. Because I love doing these videos. It's definitely like a passion of mine this past year. But what comes first is my mental health. What comes first is just knowing that I feel okay, and that I have to, kind of center myself every once in a while. But the passion's still there. It never dies. And I thank y'all for sticking around and still watching these. And to all the people that know me personally, who I've been able to positively affect their lives, I appreciate y'all. And that's what needs to happen in my life. Is I keep talking about music, but really take care of myself. This past year, that's been the main focus. Just take care of myself. And hopefully I can inspire the rest of you to take care of yourselves and get on here and talk about your passions, talk about what is really good. We have all this political division, we have all this, infighting and just bickering, gossip, everything like that. There's so much of that in social media, on YouTube, in your everyday lives. This is an escape. This is a time to talk about what we're really passionate about, what really does affect our lives. At least for me, film, social media, physical media, and music, that is like such a profound part of my life. And it does provide an escape, but it also does provide a mirror. It provides a inspiration to just keep on going, to find more, and to let you all know what's up so you can find more, so you can continue on the journey of finding what is good. Because once we leave this plane, we're not going to have access to it. So enjoy it while we got it. And I thank you all for sticking by. Like, comment, and subscribe if you have not yet. If you want to find me on social media, I am on Instagram as the Hordes of Manzerfaust. Again, I've been posting some photography on there, some stuff around town. I'm going to post a little bit more coming up. Working my way back into it. And yeah, stay tuned for more stuff to come. This is Mike Manzer with another Manzer Faust Productions video, and stay fucking metal.